this. Like, it's crazy, man.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Assimilation Podcast. I go by the name of MJMPOYI.
And I'm your co-host, SK Osborne. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Assimilation Podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for showing the Assimilation Podcast love. Allow me to introduce my next guest. This guest needs no introduction because, yeah, because
already there.
I mean, if just by his name, you'll see that on the description that
You
his
already
name
know the vibes.
exactly, and his face quite looked familiar. Because even when I was researching him myself, I was like, man, this is the same person I've been seeing ever since I was young on these adverts, on these, you guys will probably know what I'm talking about as soon as you see him. So allow me to introduce my next guest. He does not need any introduction. Please
Welcome
to the podcast. Should I say King Penuel?
Yeah,
Because that's how I know
It's
you.
fair to say that.
King is fine. So the king is more of a title that's
Okay.
self-imposed. Penuel is me. Penuel is a Hebrew name, which means I probably don't know how to pronounce it properly.
Okay.
So it's Penuel. King Pen is probably the easiest from
King
a
Pen.
pronunciation perspective.
And
So
do
where
you
does
usually
the name come from?
The name actually comes from the Bible, from Genesis. It means the face of God. Boom.
Okay.
That's a very big,
My mom found it in the Bible Encyclopedia. It's a place where Jacob wrestled with an angel near the... I don't know if it's Jacob. There's a guy who wrestled with an angel near the river Jabbok or Jacob, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a real name.
It's a real name. It's Hebrew.
On the ID.
It's in the
Yeah.
Bible. It's on the ID. Yeah.
Do you usually use your surname? Because I looked at your surname and then I saw your son pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, should I introduce him by his surname or should I just go King Penuel?
Yeah. It's a very long, detailed conversation that we'll maybe have on one day.
Okay.
I'm in the process of trying to change my surname.
Why?
A surname is an identifier. It is a barcode.
Oh, okay.
It's meant to tell someone where you
Where
come
you come
from, probably what language you speak, probably your belief system, etc., etc. So if I tell you my surname is Zulu, there's a lot of assumptions you're meant to make from there
About a Zulu man.
about geographic, what language I speak, what I probably eat, etc.
True.
In the world we live in today, a lot of us have identity crises in various ways and forms. People are struggling with gender, race, whatever. I have changed my identity, and in doing that, I'm looking to change my identifier. So my original surname is Mlotshwa, from my father. It's said that we don't recognize our mothers in our surnames because of patriarchy. My mother's surname, also from a man, is Amin, a Muslim surname. So
But
I'm looking to change
your
mine.
mom Muslim?
My mom is half Indian, half black. Yeah.
Are you from Durban originally?
I'm from KwaZulu.
Oh.
That's how
Because I
a lot
can
of
see with the hair, no, something's up here.
something's a bit dodgy. So yeah, I'm a bit of a mix. I'm from KwaZulu, and a lot of people that don't know KZN assume that it's Durban. I studied in the Eastern Cape for tertiary.
Okay.
So every time I told people from KZN, they were like, "Oh, you're from Durban." I'm like, "Nah, Durban is 4 hours from where I live."
So just
I
walk.
feel like I'm one of those people I didn't know, hey?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just walk us through your, like, from you being young and from you being the King Pen that you are right now. How's that journey been? Because the hardest thing in life is figuring out who you want to be.
Yeah.
Or should I say
The
finding your
education for us.
purpose. And how did you come about finding what your natural purpose was?
Yeah, so I think I'm still on the journey, and mine is particularly complicated because I'm a very deep critical thinker. I consume a lot of content, read, print. I have a lot of different engagements with people. I counsel a lot of young, old people. I'm a self-imposed and self-defined leader, so I lead people as well.
I feel like a person would be better off ignorant.
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is curiosity. And if you've got a curious bug planted in you, which is probably where my life starts, you cannot be ignorant because you'll be oppressing yourself because you want to know. But for the next guy who's not interested, you probably need to leave him alone.
Okay.
Because he's probably happy not really knowing. I grew up in KZN, junior primary, senior primary, high school, Newcastle I was in Newcastle, northern part of KZN. Head prefect, A student, great rugby player. You told me you played rugby as well at school.
Yeah.
I played provincial rugby. Great singer. I sang provincially as well.
Mm.
Maybe we can have a talk after this.
Then I went to Rhodes University in Grahamstown. It's now called Makhanda in the Eastern Cape. I was doing it mostly for my mom. Study accounting and economics. I actually wanted to go into advertising because
Why?
I was big on art. I'm a visual
Creative
artist.
person.
I've actually sold a lot of my artworks as well, paintings, drawings.
That's cool.
So how did you end up?
So you did not study for the painting and stuff, but
Nah.
you know how to do it.
Yeah, I did art in high school, so
Oh,
I have to say that I was taught to some degree, shading, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't just figure it out on my
Basic
own.
principles.
Yeah,
So how did you come to move from? You said you grew up in KwaZulu.
Yeah.
And
Now you're in
then
Gauteng.
yeah.
how
so
did that come about?
so I did accounting and economics at Rhodes University in Makhanda. And then I came to Johannesburg to do my honors in accounting.
Oh.
I was signed with an audit firm called Ernst & Young. They paid for my tertiary education. Like I said, I was an A student.
Yeah, you were an A student. Yeah. Yes.
I just wanna say quickly, my being an A student is not anything that I believe I deserved.
It's something you worked for.
No.
Is it more of something you worked for?
No.
Okay.
So being an academic is something that I was born with genetically.
Mm.
So you're physically big. No
Yeah.
one should ever clap hands for you because you didn't do it. It comes from the people that came before you.
I just didn't eat a lot.
You know.
The way people think.
Yeah. So school came very easily to me. It's not because I was being forced to read books and whatever. It's just
You're naturally interested.
naturally, genetically. Rugby, for example, on the other hand, I had to work on. I was scared of tackling.
Mm.
I wasn't built into a machine, for example. So I struggled, and any achievements I got in rugby, for example, I'm fucking proud of them because that's me.
By saying that,
Yeah.
what do you define talent as?
So
Let's say
so
my father was a famous music artist, and
Yeah.
then I grow up as well, and I become a music artist, and I'm good too. So do you say that I don't have talent in that sense?
And
Or-
just quickly distinguish between the thin line between talent and a gift. What is a gift and what is a
yeah,
talent?
Because-
you're telling me there's a thin line, so I must agree.
Yeah. we live in a society where we grown accustomed to, if you're not for us, then you meant to be
Yeah.
against us.
Okay.
So just
So before talent, let me just finish off with my education. I finished at Rhodes. I did my honors in accounting at UJ. And then I was meant to go and start working for an audit firm. I decided to go and work for a mentor of mine, luckily. And then I worked for two of the major banks in the country. I'll stop my story there for now before I continue.
Are
My-
you
my
currently still
idea-
working?
No, I'll get to that.
Okay.
My idea on talent and gift is the same. So I don't think there's a thin line. I think it's the same thing. And I think those things are genetic. You're born with them. Some chicks are born yellow with fat asses. They didn't earn that. They didn't bleach. They didn't inject their bums.
They were just born
they didn't
like
do
that.
squats. They were born like that. So that's physical. We're not really talent gift per se, but that's something that was given to them. In the same way, someone can be fast. You know, you just outrun every nigga out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a gift and a talent that was born in.
So
Psychologically as well, school is easy, or you just come up with ideas. You know, that's not something that you've had to put in much effort as a base, but you can build on your talent and your gift, either because of the systems you're in, like school, which then says, since you're fast, become an athlete, or just out in mainstream, like, look, I'm a good speaker, school doesn't have debate or whatever, I'm gonna go seek platforms to maybe have a podcast like this, to become a politician or whatever the case may be.
So do you think a gift or a talent is limited? For instance, if I'm a hard worker, naturally, if I work towards something that I really wanted that bad, do you think I can pass or surpass a person that was naturally born, the way you define it, as in something being naturally gifted with?
So when it comes to success in the world, talent is probably not even probably, it's the least important trait. The hard work and the discipline are actually what takes you there. So you'll find that most famous, successful, rich people are that not because of talent. And the really, really talented guys, if they lack the discipline and to put in the work, or they didn't find themselves in the right systems and had the right platforms, they'll never make it, and they'll die with their talent. So talent definitely has limits. So you can be fast naturally, but it'll take hard work and discipline to become faster. In the same breath, you may not be naturally talented to be fast, but because you put in so much work, you end up outrunning the guy that was naturally talented, who got limited because he didn't put in
The effort.
what you put in.
Okay.
So
Speaking about talent, that leads me to my next question. In 2016, you dropped a song called MJMPOYI. Was that talent, or because you said you were in a choir?
Yeah.
Did you just put the talent to work when you released the song? Because that song is not even like some type of choir song. Or what was the real sensation behind the song? Was that one of your dreams, perhaps, or becoming another Zulu man with some
like
power?
you said, was it because of the artists you look up to that you took that route, or is it just a thing you just decided to do?
As a kid, I worshipped Michael Jackson. And I was convinced I was convinced that I was Michael Jackson's biggest fan. And my whole dream in life was to become Michael Jackson. Choir has got nothing to do with Michael Jackson, but it was a platform to perform, etc. Hip hop is a bug that bit me in high school, especially as a young kid who's looking for expression and meaning. And you find alternative voices which normally come in hip hop. So I fell in love with hip hop, and I wanted to become a rapper. I do not in the slightest believe that I'm a naturally talented rapper. I do not in the slightest believe that that particular song, MJMPOYI, is a great song. And I don't think it captures who I am as a person. If you listen to me, like, I majorly speak in English. I think if ever I wanted to become a hip-hop artist, I should probably lean more towards Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, more conscious. So I wasn't actually being myself in that song, but it was me trying to do something. You know what I mean? I've made 2 mixtapes, by the way. Some of them probably are more. Some of them are probably more who I am. Some of it was more like, let me rap in vernac, because people want to listen to vernac.
It's the next thing.
Yeah.
When writing music to you, it has never been you trying to put yourself in music, so it's literally been you telling a story.
No, and I think that's probably why I haven't gone back to music. I made that music a while back. MJMPOYI I probably made in 2010. You were a kid.
Damn.
I've wanted to express myself since I was a kid. I did it through diaries, like a chick. Started keeping a diary in grade 9. Music is probably one of the greatest platforms for expression.
Yeah, it is.
We're so blessed today with the internet that there's podcasts, there's social media. I post a lot on Facebook, and I think I've always wanted expression, and I guess I wanted music to be that, and it hasn't happened, because if I was true to self and I was really a musician, I'd be making music, but I'm not.
So it is.
I speak every day, which probably means I should be speaking. So I don't care as much about the music as I probably thought I did, but I do care about expression, and I'm happy that my voice is getting out there.
Going back to what you said with expression and stuff, and the internet helping people be able to express themselves more, do you feel like it has also destroyed that factor with things like cancel culture coming in? People are not as freely as they were back then, you know what I mean? Because now, as soon as you state a point of view, a person is quick to attack or judge or something like that, or cancel you out, like the cancel culture does with people.
So people have never been free, just as a matter of fact. It's just there were less platforms to be expressive, and there were people that decided what is correct and what's not. What we have today is, what's a blessing is also a curse. So as much as we can say what we want on these platforms, in the same breath, other people who are nobodies can similarly go against you and be like, nah, you're being oppressive, dog. So that's where cancel culture comes from. In the past, the only people that could cancel you were the major platforms. So they'll be like, nah, you swear or you're non-religious, so no, you can't come on our TV show. Today it's like everyone has a platform to be like, nah, you're talking nonsense.
So do you believe in cancel culture?
Yes and no. I believe everyone should have a voice is actually not something I believe in. I believe people, if they feel strongly about something, should speak out. And if we're just speaking out about actually has a following, then it's probably good that you're getting cancelled because enough people are raising their voice. But then counter to that, if you feel that these people are talking nonsense, you can actually rise above and cancel them back. Kanye does it, Donald Trump has done it. I mean, someone like Jacob Zuma's proving it now because he's being cancelled by the media and by other politicians, and his followers and his fans through social media and other platforms are trying to cancel back the incumbent president and the media platform. So it's a battle of ideas and ideologies is what we have today. So I guess it's a yes and no. Fundamentally, I think people should have freedom of expression, but I do think there should be boundaries, and those boundaries can only be set by people and groups of people.
Speaking of groups of people setting those boundaries and freedom, do you still think there was some good in colonialism?
Colonialism?
Yes.
The short answer is yes.
Why?
The long answer is no. The short answer is yes, is because of colonialism, we got access to the global world. Today we're using microphones, we use apps, we get to fly on planes, we get to travel to other countries. I'm not going to speak about English because that's just a language. But there are so many great benefits. Something like Western medication. Our African medication had limits. But because of colonialism, we could, you can now travel to the other side of South Africa in 2 hours, where in the past it would have taken you months and you may have died. So it's a fact that colonialism came with positives. But the longer answer is it's bad because what we call progression and civilization and those things actually destroys the planet. Maybe there's an argument for maybe you shouldn't live longer than you should. Maybe you don't need the medication. Maybe you shouldn't be flying to the other side of the world. Maybe there's something wrong with interbreeding, and maybe we don't know. Other animals don't do it, and they can sustain the world, and nature gets to live. Today we're depressed and we're suicidal because of what we call progress, because we're chasing money and we're in debt, and you take medication with side effects, and so the longer answer might be no. Maybe Africans were living in a more sustainable way. Like in the movie Avatar, where you live in sync with nature. Maybe there's something fundamentally wrong with even us using the radio waves to be sending this communication out. Maybe in one way or another it's destroying the planet, or we're all going to end up with brain cancer because our cell phones and the networks and 5G are fucking us up while we're trying to connect. So it's a tricky one. But the short answer is it's a fact that there are so many benefits in real time that we see from other people coming into our country and our continent.
Speaking of you saying that maybe we should have lived in sync with nature and maybe we shouldn't have been looking for things better and forever evolving. So I just want you to define what is happiness to you. So you don't see happiness as in maybe if, for instance, we live in a world where money is the thing that makes you live.
Yeah.
Without money, there's no... Ultimately, it fuels unhappiness to some extent. So I just want you to define happiness for you. What is happiness for you?
I think when you were introducing me, you spoke about purpose. And it's one of the things I try to find in my life. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of my life? My settlement today is the purpose of life is to live, is to exist, is to try and enjoy the moments until you die. One of the new things I've added, at least to the concept of happiness, is happiness is meant to be work and struggle. It's meant to be meaning and adding value. Which, look, to be fully honest, are airy-fairy terms, fundamentally. Happiness is not a destination, and the good speakers will say these nice things. Happiness is the journey.
Because happiness is always portrayed as that thing of like, you're here now, this is it, you finally made it, and people don't talk about what you had to do before that to get there.
Happiness is actually finding a way of existence which gives you general joy majorly in your life. So I believe in struggle and I believe in work personally as a human being. Find the struggle and the work that gives you joy. Some people don't see the work behind Beyonce, the Kardashians, Kanye, there's work, there's interviews and there's traveling and there's rehearsals and if all you're seeing is the money, all you're seeing is the fame, all you're seeing is she's so hot, then you've missed the whole boat and you'll chase your whole life chasing that. And you'll be like, I fucking hate interviews and why do we have to go to practice? It's because you actually haven't found joy in the struggle and you're probably not in the right place. You need to be every day shooting a podcast in a garage, no hot chicks, there's no money. We're fucked, mom is gonna shout and it's like, but dog, I fucking had fun. Then you're probably doing the right thing. And by the time the money and the fame comes, it's a bonus. But you're like, even before the money and the fame, I was fucking happy. That's what happiness is. It's finding the right journey for yourself. But that's just living, so I don't know if that answers your question, because most people I think want a specific thing and it actually doesn't exist.
Now for me, happiness literally means if I am good with myself. If the people around me are happy with me and I'm happy with them, if they are good, then I'm happy.
Sure.
Yeah. So referring back to, you spoke about just Jacob Zuma, they're trying to bring him down, and I just wanted to speak about the ANC for a moment. You said, watching one of your videos, you referred to the ANC as in how, as in being a vehicle which is meant to take you from one place to another. You refer to the ANC as a vehicle which is helped us from the oppressed, who are not able to have great opportunities. Do you think that vehicle still exists? Do you think that vehicle could maybe take us to the next, or bring down the unemployment rate in the country presently?
So one of the saddest things about the ANC, I've voted ANC most of my life. In the last national elections, I voted for the EFF, precisely because I wanted young people in parliament. And the EFF has brought ANC Youth League people, young people into parliament. So it's almost like voting for the ANC still. The saddest bit about the ANC is the fact that it is still currently the best vehicle for the country, from a political perspective. But I do not believe that politics is the solution for the country. I'm probably not going to vote again unless I'm paid to, unless I'm captured. This is a true story. I think politics has a part to play, and politics sadly in this country has become almost like God, where we feel like ANC deliver us from evil, feed us manna, whatever the case may be. I don't think we need to confine our minds just in politics. I think we can set up groups, we can come together as 50 people, bring money together and solve your own unemployment problem. I think if your community has got crime, I think 100 of you can come together and buy weapons and isolate, We've let go of our power, and we need to find it back.
Speaking of power, how do we strategically master that mind of theft? For instance, in the olden days, right, we saw how I'm gonna name them for who they are. White people came into our territory, took the land from us, literally, and in today, how can a young African like me do it today? How do I mastermind the theft of natural resources and labor? How do I take it back? Because literally, what
you want to steal?
No, I don't want to steal. I want to take it back. It's like like you said it yourself. We've given away the power when we chose to be led. It's like we gave away the power. We gave away our own freedom, maybe of choice, for instance. Because we look at certain things today. If the government does not is not behind it, it's not legal. So how do I, as an young African, take that power back?
There's a politically correct answer, and then there's a very dangerous one. So the politically correct one is get educated, go get a good job, go start a business, and accumulate resources, make money, and then you can buy land back. create
But
partnerships.
how long would that take?
Create partnerships with white people. Use the land in conjunction with them, whatever the case may be. The dangerous answer is that theft is subjective. It's not a fact. What we call theft is based on someone's opinion.
True.
The same way you're saying white people took the land, let's say, from us.
Literally, physically.
We fought and they conquered us.
Yes.
You know, in the same way, you can go to a job interview and beat other candidates and get the job. Later on, those candidates are like, nah, USK once took our jobs, you know, and we want to get it back. You know, it's a matter of perspective and opinion.
Two sides to a coin.
Yeah. So if you want to do it like white people, because you can, build an army, accumulate resources, and go fight them and beat them. And look, after you've taken their land illegally, you can then bring in a new government which kind of legalizes what you did.
Yeah.
That's what a coup is called whenever what they call rebel forces take over certain governments. It's literally that we come and we kill the ANC and we destroy them, which is illegal and it's a crime. But if we beat them successfully, we bring in a new government which says, well, what you guys did was not a crime because it was in the interest of the people. You know what I mean? So, but to what you guys were asking, how long will that take? The politically correct one is the easier one. It takes shorter.
It's like
you just go to school and you study and you get a job and you start earning well, dog. The other one is dangerous because it could take longer, but it puts your life and other people's lives in
now
danger.
it's gonna seem as if I'm building wealth for my generation that still has to come. It's not like I'm not even gonna enjoy it. For instance, if we look at African countries, we say that, for instance, Zimbabwe, right? The person who said Zimbabwe or valued the Zim dollar was people that did that. Because the resources are still there.
Facts.
Everything that has always been in Zimbabwe is still there.
Facts.
But how do we give it back value? Because we might take it and the value is gone. Or for instance, it's like when I say, for instance, my phone is worth this, it's somebody with a certain degree that gives it value, somebody who's above me that give it value. How do I also, when I take it back, how do I give it value and teach the ones that come after me that this thing that I'm leaving for you has this much value?
As long as you're going to be playing in the money game, you must understand that there are a few people that control it. A lot of people today are talking about cryptocurrency as the new savior. That's rubbish. There are a few people that control that and control the value. So if you want to create your own value, it means you need to define things for yourself. And that actually means unplugging from what's out there. And that's the hardest, most difficult concept for the average person
to understand.
Because as long as you want to own a mansion, as long as you want to have cell phones and own a big company, you're going to be playing by someone else's rules and you'll never have control, ever. You can chase it for the rest of your life, but money will always be more powerful. And money is controlled by a few families in the world and they'll always dominate you. But if you unplug from that, you're like, I want to capture value in land, in cattle, in hard labor. Normally the people that run money will come and kill you because that's how it works. They want everyone to buy into money. They'll try and arrest you and say that you're oppressing your kids by not sending them to school where they'll be taught about money.
Oh, so now you're not chasing the money, you let the money chase you.
Exactly.
In a way.
No, it's not about money. The whole point is to forget about money. There was a life before money. And a lot of people don't understand that
it used to
money is not, it's actually not like God or the source of life. It's something that has been created. Like clothing. The clothing we're wearing is not real. We don't need clothing. We don't need chairs. Women don't need medical aid. They don't need a gynae to deliver a baby. Those things have been manufactured. You don't need the law. You don't need a government. You don't need borders. You don't even need language. Like, fundamentally, we are animals. And there are people that come and define ways of existence and we buy into them. And then we start chasing fame and wealth and I want a hot chick because someone has built a system to plant that in your head and you believe it's yours and it's not. It's not yours. And it never will be. And your kids will fight you and tell you that what you believe in is wrong. We should be Muslims and not Christian. It's because we were oppressed. Someone will tell you, I'm actually not South African, I'm probably Congolese. Someone has created those concepts and everyone buys into them. So like I said, the politically correct way is go to school and get a job and just make money and be good. The dangerous way is like define your own way of existence, and that's hard.
Which way have you taken?
I'm straddling both currently. So I'm happy with the money system. It does a lot of good. And for someone like myself, money is easy. All I need to make people jump around like clowns is to pay them. You know, in the past, in the past, getting human beings to follow my leadership and get men to build a pyramid for me without compensation means I either woo them like a chick, like my words are, they charm them, like, hey, we're gonna pull something charismatic to woo them, or I force them through violence. So I turn you guys into slaves and you build a pyramid for me. With money, it's easy. I'm like, how much do you cost? You're like, 1,000 rand a day. You guys build me a pyramid. And if I have an easy way of making money, I'll own you. A guy like Patrice, for example, is worshipped not because he's beaten anyone physically in battle, not because he's convinced anyone with his mouth. We don't know what caliber of man he is. All we know is that he has money. So if he comes and he says, I'll buy your podcast for 20 million, you guys will be his clowns. And if he says, don't ever speak about the ANC again, don't ever speak bad about money again, you guys will do it because he has power over you because of money. You know, the alternative of it is that he beats other men physically because he has an army or weapons, or he finds a way, like you said, through charisma to capture your minds. There are poor men out there that a lot of us worship because of their words, because they've charmed us like a chick.
True.
Then there are other men out there that if they came in here with their guns, you'd be like, I'll do whatever you want, dog, because I'm just physically scared of you. So you pick if you want to do the money thing, or if you want to do the physical violence thing, or if you want to do the psychological thing. I think fundamentally what I'm chasing in life is minds, because I think it all goes back to the mind. I want to capture as many minds as possible so that the guy with money comes to SK and you're like, no, I follow Penuel. The guy who's like, I'll kill you, you're like, I'd rather you kill me because I believe in Penuel. And that's the most dangerous aspect of controlling human beings today.
That leads me to my next question. So what do you think is the biggest problem with our society, especially us as the black nation today?
And the youth of today?
We lack leadership. We lack good, strong leadership. There are leaders in this country that are good, but they're not strong. So they complain on their little Twitters and stuff, and they have great ideas, but they're not strong, but they're good people. Then we have really, really strong leaders that are not good. So they have their own agendas, they corrupt, but they're strong leaders, they speak well, they get shit done, but they're not. So that combination of good and strong is what we lack. So the two of you as examples are probably like good kids, but you probably lack the platform. You guys don't own the SABC, you don't own ENCA, you guys are not billionaires. So you might have like the coolest ideas for like lowering unemployment, making sure that this country does well, turning us into like a Switzerland or a New York, but you just lack the resources. The other kids that are out there who are like, fuck it, they have guns and they kill people and they hijack and they get shit done, and they're rich and they live in Four Ways or in Santon, but they're not good people, they're hurting others. But the combination of where good people were strong is not there. And one of the things that needs to happen with a lot of the good people out there is we need to start equipping them with the tools that can allow them to be bad when it's necessary. So giving you guys the guns that we're going to do good shit, but as soon as bad guys come through, we're willing to kill them for the betterment of what we're trying to do. That's very tough.
So how does one then learn to lead? Is it something you learn? Because growing up, we were taught that a leader is not something you learn. You have got to, from a famous quote like Nelson Mandela, he says you have got to learn to follow before you can lead. So aren't we following these leaders that are misleading us? So how do we become good leaders? Do we just rebel from their leadership and go our separate ways, or how do we learn how to lead the way we should be able to lead, the way you define it as?
So the first important thing is I believe leadership you can be born with or it can be taught. That gift, talent thing and the hard work. So you can naturally
be a leader.
Just Every time you're like, hey guys, we're gonna go play there, they follow you. Or you can be the kid who like, I wanna lead, so I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna read the books, and I'm gonna, and like I said, on a long timeline, the guy who puts in the work is gonna out-lead the talented guy. So that's important. The second important thing, which a lot of people are lacking today, so not everyone is meant to be a leader. Leadership, for me at least, is actually a disease, and it's a bad disease because you're meant to lead even when it's not nice, even when you're being attacked, even when your wife wants to leave you, even when you're being threatened to be killed. You're meant to be like, I have no choice but to do this fucking thing. So leadership to me is meant to be a disease, which means everyone else who doesn't want the disease is meant to follow. We need good followers out there, but people don't know their responsibilities as followers. To what you're saying about we might be misled. You have a responsibility. You can't just be like, well, the ANC is doing whatever, or well, look at big white business. You're meant to go back and be like, Penuel said leadership is a disease. I don't want to lead. I'm not interested. But he said I have a responsibility as a follower. And the responsibility is, who are you following? And how are you holding them accountable? And when you decide on who to follow, it mustn't be because that's who we were told. No, but this is the rich guy. It must be, is this person serving me? Are they serving my people? Because that's when you'll realize, no, then maybe I shouldn't follow that guy. There's a guy in my neighborhood who, he always makes sure that my family eats. When I needed a job, he gave me a job. When I needed protection, he could have been like a white racist guy. And you're like, but fuck, that guy's getting shit done. He built like a great school. He made sure that my mom got a job. The other guy who's the famous black guy who's fucking rich, he's busy with chicks. He's in Dubai. But you were told that's the guy you must follow. So as a follower, as a good follower, your responsibility is to be like, who am I following?
Okay.
What are they doing for me and my people? And then how do I hold them accountable? So this guy says I must follow him. I think he's doing well. But then he stole money. Now it's like, hey dog, listen, we need the money. And he's like, well, you're not a leader. I'm not, but I'm a follower. And I give you money and I give you my vote. And if you're not going to do what needs to be done, I'm no longer going to come to your school. My mom is going to leave your company and go work for the next company, for the guy who's doing well for me and my people. A lot of us no longer hold leaders accountable for us. Don't worry about, and this is a very tough, sad one. Don't worry about poor blacks. If you're not a poor black, you don't live in a squatter camp. You're not struggling with poverty. You have your own unique needs. Because you'll follow the guy who's worried about poor blacks and they'll come chase you out of your comfort. And be like, nah, we're going to bring some of the niggas from the squatters to come live in your house. And you're like, no, dog.
No. This
that person is not serving you.
Okay, so
which is what black people don't understand about white people. White people understand politics. That's why they follow the leaders that serve them.
So then it becomes an agenda thing.
It's always going to be an agenda thing. That's one of the important things we need to understand. Life will never be fair. Life will never be fine. Poverty will never end. The only thing that will happen is that you need to align yourself with a winning agenda. And then try and bring as many of your people on board as possible. And once you and your people are good, then you can start worrying about other good people who are struggling.
You talking about poverty will never end. Does that mean that the educational system has failed us? Because when we go to school, we were promised, if you go to school, if you graduate, if you get a degree, you are guaranteed a job. That's like from when we're in primary, they tell you to dream big.
Yeah.
They tell you to have aspiration. They tell you to go for what you want, go to school, get a perfect job, live your life. Do you think now that the educational system has failed us? Because it cannot provide. You said poverty will never end. Does that?
So one of the saddest things about capitalism is that the system is broken. If you look at the board game Monopoly, it ends at some point because someone kind of owns everything. That's the world we live in today. Except it doesn't end. It's not like, well, I'm poor, start the game again. It's like, well, you want to be poor forever. You know what I mean? So the system is broken and it's coming through in things like, my mom used to beat me up when I was failing at school. My lecturers shouted at me at varsity when I wasn't attending lectures. And I struggled and I fought and I did the late nights and I studied with a candle under a tree. And my mom went and begged and my dad went and stole money just so I could get this fucking degree. I did everything that you guys asked. Everything. Where's my job? And they're like, well, sorry, the economy, start your own thing. And it's like, nah, get the fuck out of here. I did it. My mom right now is under debt because she did what you said she must do. You know what I mean? So we're seeing that the system is not working for us. And it was never meant to. That's the thing about capitalism. It's built for the elite. It's built for the guys on the monopoly board who own the houses and the streets.
Minority.
They're the ones
So-
that are eating.
One of the things that I'm planning to do as a leader is to get as many people as possible to unplug from money, because the money system, like I said, is for a minority of people. Number two, if we're ever going to defeat poverty, we first need to redefine it. If poverty is linked to money, yes, it will never end. But if we're saying poverty is a state of mind, where yes, I don't have money, but I still have hands, and there's a piece of land and I can go plant spinach and eat, then all of a sudden,
There's no
you're like, but you're so poor. You're like, yeah, but I've got land and we've got food and we've got cows, dogs. Like, but how much money do you have? It's like, nah,
I don't
for what? You know, then poverty will probably end. There's another point I wanted to make. Same with unemployment. We're being told every single day, unemployment, the stats. And I'm thinking, why is a job the goal? As long as a job is the
Create your
goal,
own job.
we'll obviously have problems. As long as you say, I need to work for someone, you'll constantly be fucked and the stats will always look bad. Instead of saying, well, Penuel taught me that I don't need to chase money. And he told me that I don't need to chase to work for another man. He told me that poverty is a mindset. And if I move out of the mindset of it being money, I can now begin doing things for myself. And if I don't need to work for another man and I can work for myself and for my family, I will always be good. By the time the statisticians come, they're like, but you're poor. You're like, you can list me as whatever you want. I'm an unemployed youth that doesn't have whatever, but I'm good.
What about those that still want to get employed? Because according to the data, we have 52% of unemployment. Within the working age, 14 million out of the 58 million of the South African have job. And those 14 million, only about 3 million of them pay tax. That means they earn above 6,700. And I'm quoting you.
Those are my stats.
Exactly. 6,700 per month. The average wage in South Africa, or the income that an average person in South Africa earns, is 3,600 per month, which is not a lot of money. To be in the top 10 of the earners in the country, you need to be earning 7,300 per month, and to be in the top 1%, you need to be earning arguably between 30,000 and 50,000, which is not still a lot of money in today's society. How can we, if not flatten the curve, try to bring this acknowledgeable gap, or between the haves and the have-not? How do we flatten this gap?
Yeah, so you're quoting something I wrote, and look, I didn't make up these numbers, I didn't do the surveys. That's from Stats SA, that's from the South African Revenue Services, and from other surveys that people can find online. So those amounts are not made up, those are real numbers. In the world we live in today, everyone is forced to play the money game, but the money game is designed for a few people. And my whole thing is to get as many people as possible to get out. We can't all play for Bafana or the Springboks. We can't. Some people are meant to coach, some are meant to be managers, some are meant to be spectators, some are meant to play a different sport altogether. So my whole thing is, for the people that want jobs, for the people that want to be rich, that's fine. Allow that 10% or 30% of the population to do that. But give other people another way of living. Let other people go and live in the villages and grow their own food and barter. Like, they're obviously being failed by the system and you're still trying to force them. When you see there are no jobs for them. There's not enough money for them. The apartheid system worked because it was actually only designed for a few white people. That's why they could build the roads and build Eskom and build Sasol and be rich, you know. And then when black people came in, what was meant to happen, because this is actually what the ANC wanted, but they never say it now. They just wanted like the uppity blacks to get in on the fun. But then they sold it as for everyone. It was never meant to be for everyone. We can't all be rich. If we're all rich, who's going to work? if we're all playing for
That's a
Bafana,
good
who's going to
question.
be watching in the stands?
Mm.
Like the maths just simply does not
Make
work.
sense, yeah.
And
It simply doesn't work.
I was also thinking of the same thing. I think I spoke to SK about it, and in my mind, I was thinking they all built this to be, when we went to school, my mom would be, I want you to be number one, I want you to be number one, I want you to be. And then now that I'm old, I'm like, if she has always wanted me to be number, then whose child is meant to be the last one?
Yeah.
Which is, it just made me realize that we live in a sick world where everybody, it's like people are addicted to it, if I can say attention, because when you're number one, like all eyes on you, everybody's focused on you. And that made me realize that we live in a sick world.
But
I don't want to be part of
the
it.
law of nature, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Not everyone can be at the top.
Yes and no. So I love the fact that you mentioned that it's sick, because it is sick and it does make people sick. Because again, we're just animals. Clothing and money and all that stuff is man-made.
Mm.
And because you can't be number one and you come number last, you're told that you're useless and you're stupid
Exactly.
and kids end up depressed
Or you're less
and
considered.
suicidal.
Mm.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the laws of nature and survival of the fittest. It's true. The beauty of nature is you can be an animal that flies or one that swims in water. You can be an animal that's huge like an elephant or sleek like a cheetah.
Mm.
In the human made-up world, you're almost either rich and an A student or you're nobody.
Mm.
When we know you can be an athlete, you can be a farmer, you know, you can make podcasts, you can trade, it's so dynamic, and we're not allowing people
To do that.
to be comfortable in their, in being dynamic. So yes, I'm the last student academically, but I wax all you guys when it comes to sprints. You know, yes, maybe I come 7th in academics, but as far as like hustling, I'm the kid that makes the most money from hustles in school. I wear like the greatest threads. I'm a great speaker at school. Like all the kids listen to me speak, but like I'm out of shape and I suck. And let's celebrate that. Let's not just say only the kid who's an A student and who's the first team captain
Exactly.
is going to make it. Because in the real world, you start seeing that the rich kids, the tenderpreneurs, are the kids that weren't doing good at school.
Mm.
So it's the kids that are not good at English. And the kids that actually excelled at school are just good professionals.
Mm.
And then the rest of the kids that were kind of average are the ones that are unemployed. They got the degrees, but they stuck. So what now? And I look at them and I'm like, dog, you've got hands, you've got feet, you're not crippled. You can hold a spade and dig up something and plant. You can make something. I can teach you how to make blocks and build your own house. The mansion you've always dreamt of. In your head, you thought I need money. And I'm telling you, you can build the pyramid. Because the pyramids weren't built with money. You can build your mansion without the money, dog. Just put in the work. Give yourself, even by yourself. Never mind with a team of guys, because that's quicker. You can build your dream house maybe over 3 years, every single day, just making blocks. And then putting them one on top of the other. By the time you have a mansion, people are like, you must be rich. And again, mindset. You're like, nah, I'm rich because I realize I'm not going to get the job and the money. I wanted the job and the money to buy the thing. I'm now going direct to the supplier. I'm going to build the thing.
Perception.
I don't need the money to go to Pick and Pay to buy food. I will grow the food myself. You know what I mean? So it's a very sick society, and if more of us don't speak out, which is what I was saying about good, strong leaders, and if we don't create the platforms for kids to be like, I don't have a job, but Penuel has created the space where like kids without jobs can come work and at least grow their own food. So maybe while I'm waiting for a job, at least I can go home with groceries every day.
I feel like that's why I became an artist, because in a way an artist can do what politicians can't and speak out more than a politician does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can voice yourself in a way that a politician can't or won't, and you're not bound to anything or anyone. So you can space yourself as much as you want.
True story.
Going on to my next question, I wanted to ask you, I saw you define black text, but I wanted you to define it here because everybody has got their own perception of what is black text.
Yeah.
Just like me, black text for me is go to school, graduate, start working, give back to the community.
Yeah.
That's how I've been raised. So according to you, what is black text and how should one pay for it?
Jeez, I wrote a nice long piece and I don't even remember it. So I think how I started that piece was defining tax. Tax is a forced payment, which is meant to benefit the greater good. But it's forced. It's not by choice. So if we're going to talk black tax, I'd like to think we're talking forced. As soon as you're volunteering, I don't think we need to call it a tax, for example. So if you're buying your sister sneakers or you're giving your mom money and you're like, hey, dog, my black tax. To me, it's like, I don't think that's black tax, dog.
Okay.
The second part is obviously the fact that it's black, which now should lead us to be like, oh, that means other races probably don't have it. You know, and that's where now, why do black people have to be forced to pay money for the greater good or an extra? Because all of us pay tax, including white people. So why do black people have to pay extra? And then you bring in the historical element that it's because we come from a history of not having money and whatever. So just like I guess white people probably pay more tax in this country, as a black kid, you're expected to send more money home because your family hasn't made it. And that money is not meant to be used to buy booze and buy whatever. It's meant to, just like our tax money is meant to use to build roads and build clinics. You're meant to send money home so that your younger sibling can go to school and then ease the burden. Because if there were 5 of you as kids and you started off sending a big chunk of money home to educate your siblings, now there's 3 of you instead of 5. And now there's less of a burden. And at some point, all 5 of you are now meant to be okay. And any money you send home is no longer tax now. Now it's like, now I want to extend my mom's home, you know. And some of the stuff we call tax is actually an investment because it has returns. If I'm educating my sister and one day my sister's going to give me cash or educate my kids, it's no longer tax, it's an investment. If I'm sending money home for my parents to extend their home and one day that home will be worth more in value and it's going to be my house because I'm going to inherit it, that's not a tax. You know what I mean? So a lot of people just don't understand these concepts, and I think we need to discuss them in greater detail. Sending money home for booze and that thing is bullshit. For me, that's not even tax. That's like a form of corruption. That's like when you pay tax to government and they use it to splurge on nonsense. Tax is meant to be for the benefits of building the families.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've seen on all of your pages, if not on all your social media platforms, you say is it safe for me to say you started your own religion?
Is it safe? Is it safe for yourself? I'm building a cult, but it's not a cult. I just say it's a cult because it's easier to tell people that you're the worst version of yourself that they think, because then any good thing you do chips away at their definition, versus trying to be a saint and then people attack you all the time when you do something bad. So cults are normally built around a figure. So I'm building a belief system around myself, which looks like a cult, and it probably is. In cults, you're normally not allowed to question. I think with me, I encourage questioning all the time. So Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, for example, there's a lot of things you are not allowed to question, which to me says cult. But I'd like to think every religion started as a cult and then over time became a religion. So my hope is that I'm building something around myself now, but in time, I'm hoping it will be, you know, because people will say all the good and bad things about it. I just realized, to what I said earlier, that I'd like to own minds, because I can try and become rich, like Patrice and Aliko Dangote or someone, and then own people's minds through money and make them do what I think they should be doing, growing their own food, building their own homes. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is literally to, through charisma, win people over psychologically and be like, look, eat better, exercise, don't forget to hug your mom, educate yourself, ask the questions, follow better leaders, you know. And in that way, even without money, I can get you to plug into my belief and the way I do things through that way. I studied all the different concepts of mind control. Money is obviously one of them. Another one is music. Music is a form of mind control. Sex and women is a form of mind control. Drugs like alcohol and weed and other harder drugs are a form of mind control. Tribes, cultural beliefs, like being told I'm a Zulu man, therefore, the
pride and everything.
You know, it's a form of mind control. Religion is one of the most powerful ones. So some people will forsake money in the name of, well, if Jesus doesn't want me to take this money, I won't take it. You know, if Allah or Prophet Muhammad says I mustn't eat this food, I won't. And you're like, shit. So even if I paid you,
hungry.
even if I paid you, it's like, nah, my God and my guide says. I'm like, shit, religion is powerful. So I was like, I think that's what I want to do. But instead of being a pastor and controlling people's minds using other people's doctrines, where people are going to be like, yeah, but God doesn't say that. Nah, Jesus, I don't want to be debating someone else's beliefs. I'd rather build my own. So if people question me, it's like, but Penuel, you said the stats, and I can be like, yeah, I did. At least you're debating me, and it's not like I'm saying, well, stats SA didn't say it. Maybe they're lying.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's my whole idea behind my religion. And I talk about myself being God, and a lot of people get upset, and I understand, because they were raised to believe that God is this one thing, and anyone who says something else is probably anti-God or anti-religion, and is probably got evil, demonic, whatever. My whole thing is just that God is the idea of a person or a being who governs everything, who decides what is right and wrong, and who's meant to help you live a good life. You know, so when I say I am God, it's not to say your God is wrong or is a loser. It's to say I would like to guide your way of living. I would like to be the source of your inspiration and motivation and your definition of right and wrong and how to live your life. And if more and more people can plug into me as a God figure, even when they question things in the Quran or in the Bible or in the Torah, they can be like, look, let's question them, but what does Penuel say? Penuel says we must question. Penuel says we must always look at what's best for myself and my people. Penuel says I must be healthy and take care of my body. Penuel says we mustn't harm other people. So even where they are confused in whatever other beliefs they have, I'm hoping that I can be a voice of reason to maybe balance it out and dilute some of that confusion.
Speaking of religion, when one Sikh or when one is worshipping something, it's because they believe that is the ultimate truth.
Yeah.
So do you think that if we as the people, maybe for instance, human beings, right, we can only believe a certain truth, do you then think that we are allergic to some other truth that could be out there and could be reasonable?
You're asking a rhetorical question.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think that there is an other truth from what people believe to be true?
There's no such thing as a truth and a fact. Everything is subjective, and it's based on who you choose to believe. Whether it's because they gave birth to you or they told you they gave birth to you. Again, you don't know if your mom is really your mom, but you know so because she said so or because you guys have similar features. Everything is so.
We're kind of forced to believe that certain people are truthful and others are not. So if the president says it, must be true. If the pastor said it, must be true. Well, if the encyclopedia or the history book said it, must be true. And then other people start coming up with alternative thoughts. Like what you said was history, where they said black people were stupid. Nah, your ancestors were actually quite intelligent. They actually built this and did this. And you're opening your mind now to an alternative thought. And what you thought was a truth and a fact now becomes subjective. You know, and that applies to everything. Even us being here now is a concept of your brain projecting that this is reality. You know, and that's where like the movie The Matrix was trying to play on that psychological thing of what you deem to be real is only based on the fact that you opened your eyes and you made it real. Until someone asks you, I show you a photo of yourself when you were 5, and I'm like, you see this picture here? And I'm like, who took the photo? Shit, I don't remember, dog. I'm like, so even your own memory is subjective. It's not a fact. Do you remember what you were doing on this day? Fuck, dog, I don't. If your own memory cannot be completely factual, imagine the memories of other people that tell the news, that write the history books, that do the scientific experiments, you know. And then we know there's agendas in the world. There are people that are trying to be rich and powerful, so they'll lie to you and tell you that something is a truth. And then when some of us who have nothing to gain from telling you an alternative truth, we're telling you, but that's not true. And you're like, nah, dog, you're here too. And I'm like, the guy who told you that's the truth, he's making money off you. I'm not going to make shit. I'm just trying to tell you a different way of thinking. You know, so we're constantly battling different ideas and different propaganda out there. And I think fundamentally, just like the leadership discussion, pick the truth that serves you. If they say black is king, be like, I'm black, so yeah, I'm king. You know, if they're like Africans were intelligent, be like, yeah. If they say, look, black people are stupid and are designed for labor and oppression, be like, maybe they're true, but I don't like it. So I'll follow another truth. I'll wait for the next guy to explain it differently. So pick a truth that serves you and your people. I think that's what's important.
Now this leads me to like taking a different route, right? I want us to talk about relationship because you were vocal about the way people should be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you define what a relationship budget was. So I just want you to quickly explain to my audience what is a relationship budget and how much is it?
Since we live in a money world, we obviously need to speak about money. And because we live in a money world, people have deduced relationships to money. So even things like having children, people don't have children and don't have relationships with their family because they're like, well, I can't afford kids. So people end up not dating and having romantic relationships because they're like, I can't afford a chick. I need data to send a text. I need airtime to call her. I want to go buy her an ice cream. I mean, that's cheap, but like, I need money for that. You know, I need to take her to the movies.
To some extent, it is kind of true.
In the money world, it's true.
Yeah.
You know? So my whole thing is because money is so important in the world we live in and it's real and it's a factor. I think if you like a chick, if you're flirting with a chick, if you're dating a chick, talk about it. Talk about money. Tell her, look, I only get like 500 Rand from my parents. That's how much I have. Communicate, you know, or I've got a hustle, I make like 3 grand. Or, you know, I'm working, I make 25,000 a month. Talk about it. And then from there, be like, I earn 50,000 a month. But as far as me and you, 50,000 is not for you. It's mine. Anything you'll get from me is probably going to be up to a maximum of, let's say, 3 grand. So don't ever look at the car I just bought, what I've just done. Oh, but babe, why are you saying you can't buy me this necklace, but you just gave your brother 5 grand? I'm like, that's my budget with my family. That's not my budget with you. My budget with you is 3 grand and it includes movies and. Maybe on a certain occasion, when I want to do something special for us, I can go above budget. But generally, this is kind of what I can afford. I have 500 Rand chicks, so I only have like $100 for you. So I can only buy data and take you to the movies once. And she must honestly, because we live in a world where chicks actually live like us. They get money, they're empowered, they're free. Yeah. She must also bring her money on the table. She mustn't just be like, well, spend on me. Like, that's why I hate the feminist agenda and all these things, because they warped. You know, I'm a gent. I've got a sister. We're both struggling. We have the same parents. We went to the same school. I've got the same job as her. But then when it comes to relationship, her boyfriend must take care of her and I must take care of my... I think that's bullshit, and it kind of fucks up the relationship dynamics that we have.
Speaking of relationship and dynamics of a relationship, you talk about your past relationships failing because you said, and I quote, I love like a sibling. I love like a brother. I'm going to hate you, shout at you, motivate and inspire and complain like a brother. And if we scratch each other, which in the world of today is called gender-based violence, right? And so that leads me to my question. How do you counsel to these young people in relationships to know the true worth of a relationship and to be able to distinguish between abuse or, for the lack of a better word, to be forbearing? Yeah. For instance, when you guys scratch each other.
Yeah. That one's very difficult. That one's very difficult. We live in a woke, conscious era now where we're supposed to accept anything someone tells us. You traumatized me, you hurt me, and you're not allowed to say no. It's like, well, it's my feelings. You must respect my feelings. So it's very difficult. I suggest couples get counseling from people that they trust. It doesn't necessarily need to be a therapist. It can be your parents, it can be your friends, someone that genuinely is like, I know your boyfriend. I know your boyfriend and I know that that's a good guy. So if he slapped your friend, genuinely, something must have happened. Don't bullshit each other. Don't be like, you guys have been like in a 5-year relationship and this nigga's been there when your car broke down, when your mom passed away, he's helped you out with money, and then it's like, he slapped you, damn girl, leave that useless. That means your friend is dumb. That means your friend is dumb and lacks maturity. I guess it goes back to leadership as well. Find good, mature people that you can speak to and be like, you know, I really, really love this guy, but he slapped me and I'm scared. I don't want it to be abuse. Or I've been feeling funny. He's been hitting me for the past 3 months or whatever. Like, I need help. Am I in an abusive relationship? I'm not sure. You know, the reason I speak about siblings is because siblings generally don't break up. They do. Sometimes family members disown each other. but generally they don't break up. You can like punch your sister and she'll lose her shit and go tell your parents and your mom might hit you, but tomorrow she's still your fucking sister. And years later, your sister will be like, I love my brother so much. He used to fucking beat me up, but like, I love him. And it's like, we can't have that in romantic relationships because we've narrowed them down to like honeymoon and perfect. And they're not. And they never were meant to be.
Everything is always picture.
You know what I mean? And it's like, well, as soon as it disturbs your peace, and you're like, that's not what relationships are about. That's why I say the happiness, and I think life is meant to be about struggle and work. The times when my chick is slapping me, when she's stressing me out, that's the value. And you want to be with the person that, like I said with the journey, you want to be with the chick that on the worst day, on the day she slapped you, on the day she fucking smashed your car's window, you're like, I'd rather her than anyone else. You know what I mean? And we've lost that. And the feminist agenda and the gender-based violence agenda and whatever is muddying the waters because there are abusive men out there. There are bad men out there. And like women need to be saved and women need to be taken away. But now when the good guy who's been like nothing but a perfect partner for 10 years makes mistake, and now it's going to be like, well, you break up with a chick and she's like, you wasted my time for 5 years. Like, I taught you so much and we experienced stuff and we learned stuff and you met people and I got you the job you got and you're telling me I wasted your time just because I'm not marrying you. That means the way you measure value is bullshit. Because you'll measure the guy who dates you for 6 months, marries you, and then divorces you 3 months later and be like, well, at least he married me. I added like positive value in your life for 5 years and you're reducing me to a loser just because I didn't put a ring on your finger. You need to change the way you calculate value. Yeah. So we just need more people to educate people to open their minds around these things.
Ladies and
So,
gentlemen, that was Kingpin. Thank you so
Boom.
much for joining us today.
Thanks, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate you for coming, showing us some love. I mean, like from Brooksburg all the way to here.
That's a distance. By the way, guys, if you guys don't know where I was getting my quotes and referring, he's actually an author, a writer, has written 14 books. 14 books.
14. I hope 14 and then 2 mixtapes that come on.
14 books. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Kingpin, and thank you so much for you tuning into another episode of the Assimilation Podcast. You can see, guys, I've been like getting... He's like a mufudi.
I mean,
Jeez.
Here we were
We're being
listening.
fed, we're getting taught.
We're getting schooled out here, man.
Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe, tell a friend to tell their friend if you benefited from this conversation. Exactly, share it with your friend. Let them know that the Assimilation Podcast is happening. This was another episode of the Assimilation Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I was your host, MJMPOYI. Up until next time,
Goodbye.
Cheers.